Why the U.S. should recognize Somaliland? Well, have you heard of Somaliland? It has been de facto independent for 30 years, and they have taken great strides to pursue democracy, free speech, and free market ideas. Because of this, the U.S. should recognize Somaliland as an independent country. In practice, the territory is not now, nor is likely to be, a part of Somalia. Acknowledging that reality would allow Washington to create more effective policy in an important and contested region. In addition, a strong relationship with an independent Somaliland could potentially benefit the U.S. as we try to hedge against Chinese influence in the region.
Hello YouTube family, I hope that everyone is doing fine from any part that you are watching today's video from. We have been having a lot of discussions involving the Somali community, but when Somali is discussed, the conversation often focuses on internal challenges or regional issues. But there is another side of the story that is rarely explored: the continued interest of the United States in Somalia. We have heard that the Somali have been involved in a lot of fraud cases. Not that these cases just started recently. Those are the things which have always been there, but only that they were exposed at that time. So today's discussion is not about taking sides or assigning blame. It's about understanding why Somalia remains relevant in the United foreign policy, the strategic considerations that are involved, and how these decisions affect both the region and the global community. By looking at history, geography, and international security, we can better understand why these relationships still exist and why it continues to matter today. Welcome back to Polito Realities, a space where we handle real discussions. If you are new here, take a minute to subscribe, to like, and to share today's video. I have some few reaction clips with me. Let's sit and watch and see what people are saying about the story that is going on.
We know that Somali refugees and Somali Americans are truly people in this nation that have provided such strength and value to who we are. I know Somali Americans, like every American. So many of the ethnic groups that make the fabric of our nation, they have shown such strength in their contributions to make our nation stronger and better. It is absolutely unconscionable to me, unimaginable to me, that a president of the United States would use such vile, hurtful, demeaning, and degrading rhetoric about any group of Americans.
Somaliland is a critical U.S. maritime security partner in Africa. It sits along the Gulf of Aden near one of the world's busiest shipping corridors, and its forces actively contribute to counterterrorism and anti-piracy missions. Somaliland stands with our allies, including Taiwan and Israel, and aligns with U.S. interests in a region where China is aggressively expanding. Somaliland has offered the United States a military basing agreement and a critical minerals partnership. They are willing to work with us to counter China's malign influence and terrorist networks. This is the kind of partner we should be encouraging, and one that will shape how we confront maritime security challenges across the continent. Earlier this year, I sent a letter to President Trump urging formal recognition of Somaliland. Unsurprisingly, the Chinese Communist Party immediately condemned that letter, which only underscores how strategically important Somaliland is to U.S. national security. What tools and partnerships could the Bureau of International Narcotics and Law Enforcement employ to help the United States deepen cooperation with Somaliland to advance our common maritime security and law enforcement interest, especially against threats facing the Horn of Africa?
Thank you, Senator, for that question. INL does not currently have any active programming in Somaliland, and our focus in the Horn of Africa is, in general, maritime security. I mentioned the Center of Excellence that we are working with Djibouti to establish, which will cover that region and then a little bit further south. We have worked with Somalia in the past and Djibouti on maritime vessel boarding and investigations, but those programs are coming to an end. We certainly can review capabilities. We would begin any program with an assessment of needs, and we would work in close cooperation with the Africa Bureau and the State Department to determine their priorities for Somaliland. Thank you.
Thank you.
The United States has contributed nearly $1.6 billion to support troop-contributing countries for AMISOM and its successor missions. This is in addition to nearly $2 billion we have provided in assessed contributions to UNSOS and its predecessor. We have also provided substantial bilateral assistance, including hundreds of millions of dollars of support to the Somali security forces, plus billions in humanitarian relief and development assistance. Despite the sacrifices of the troops and police and the long-term support from the United States and other partners and allies, sustained progress against the terrorism threat in the region and towards the essential transfer of most security functions to Somalia has been elusive. Ongoing efforts must ensure the responsibility for combating al-Shabaab, ISIS, and other terrorism threats shifts primarily to those who have the most at stake. It is also important that UNSOS and AUSOM build on efforts to optimize resources, identify clear performance benchmarks, implement efficiencies, and identify a credible roadmap for realizing mandate objectives and ultimately sunsetting the mission. Further, we urge the federal government of Somalia, all member states, and all clans to come together to address the country's security and governance challenges. In the coming months, we look forward to robust and realistic assessments that outline next steps for a responsible AUSOM drawdown and for accelerating Somalia's progress to take on more responsibility for its own security. Lastly, we would like to express the United States' continued frustration with Council members using the mandate renewal process to push distracting and divisive language, including on gender. Thank you.
Somaliland just got a major economic win. For the first time, the U.S. Congress declared Somaliland a strategic location. That might sound political, but in reality, it's about money. When Washington calls a place strategic, investors pay attention. It means U.S. companies feel safer to move in, knowing America has interests and even military protection in the region. It's also a green light to investors that they can directly deal with Somaliland, and U.S. will protect those investments. And history proves it. The U.S. once declared Kosovo strategic long before it was independent. After that, investors poured in: energy, telecoms, and construction. By the time Kosovo declared itself a state, foreign firms were already making profits. Now Somaliland is in that same position. It has Berbera Port, the Ethiopia Trade Corridor, and untapped resources: oil, copper, and lithium. So don't be surprised if the next headline is about Elon Musk or another U.S. tech giant signing a lithium mining deal in Somaliland. But this isn't just Somaliland's win. The U.S. says its One Somalia policy won't change, and this is part of Somalia's growing importance to Washington. From Berbera to Mogadishu, all resources are now on the table. It's up to Somali leaders to turn that into prosperity.
I am concerned about the northern part of Somalia and ISIS growing in numbers.
How much have they grown in that area?
Oh, wow. They are, in the past year, it's probably grown probably twofold. I won't give numbers, but it's more than what it was last year.
So that's very concerning. Does the U.S. believe that the leader of ISIS Somalia, Abdul Qadir Mumin, is the global leader of ISIS right now?
We have to take it as credible. So we're just watching that closely as far as who is the overall leader, and if ISIS professes that, we got to take that seriously.
The Horn of Africa is in turmoil right now due to the differences between Somalia and Ethiopia. From a national security perspective, how does this affect the war against al-Shabaab? There's limited operations with the Ethiopians at this time. Time will tell if they can settle their differences, and because when they do work together, they're very, very effective at clearing out al-Shabaab. The unknowns are who are going to be the troop-contributing country to the AWESOM construct, the transition from ATMOS to AWESOM, and that starts at the end of the year. In the ATMOS construct, one of the anchor and frontline countries was Ethiopia.
So that's what has me concerned. Because Ethiopia, especially in the southwest state, and their contributions to the liberation and stabilization has been valuable.
General Langley, do you think that U.S. forces may be needed during that transition from ATMOS to AWESOM, or even after that transition, to try to supplement the security as they're trying to bring forces out and pull forces in?
No, that's not my mission. That's not what we're there for. All of our initiatives and our approach on the African continent with our African partners will be Africa-led and U.S.-enabled. So our piece of enabling is not our boots on the ground. We're there to advise and assist and assist in the training, but the fight is theirs.
I want to follow up about something that senior defense officials told VOA in June. They had said that the Somali National Army's Central Somalia campaign had put al-Shabaab on the back foot. That was the term that they used for the past 2 years. But then al-Shabaab had in about 6 months reversed those gains this year. Is that what you see?
Well, they're still building the Somali National Army, so as they go on offensive operations, it is stress on the force. As they clear and liberate a region, you have to have a credible holding force there so stabilization activities and efforts can initiate and turn the populace in faith in the federal government of Somalia with the services they provide. So that's a very fragile period, and if they can't sustain that because they're moving to the next region or next district, it ebbs.
So that was what was happening.
Yes, that's what you're seeing. You're seeing ebbing and flowing.
They couldn't hold the territory that they had gained.
Right.
And that's where your training is coming in to try to get them ready and sped up to be able to hold that territory.
Exactly. It takes time. It's an investment to build an army.
So even with that assessment, with the struggles in the central Somalia region, even with ATMOS moving out and a new force yet to be determined moving in,
yes,
you have still said that you are, quote, cautiously optimistic that Somali forces will be successful against al-Shabaab.
Well, we are at an inflection point. This is unknown territory, how they're going to navigate this transition. Yes, we need a credible holding force. However, when I say I'm cautiously optimistic, I'm looking at the whole of government effort. Every time I go there, stabilization activities are increasing. Activities that USAID has put forth in their efforts of working with civil society organizations to hit those benchmarks of stability.
For more insight into AFRICOM and the situation in East Africa, let's go live to VOA's Carla Babu is standing by at the Pentagon. Hello, Carla. Fascinating conversation there. Did he mention what threat he thought was most concerning in the Horn of Africa?
Well, good evening, Esther. Yes, he did. I asked him about the most concerning threat in all of Africa, and he said that that was in East Africa, particularly looking at the instability that could emanate from the Houthis, especially those waterways, those critical waterways in the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden, coupling that with the increased tensions, with the efforts that al-Shabaab is making in that region, and how the Somali government is trying to prevent these two from coalescing. He is watching that and saying that that could be very concerning. That could turn this area into a really bad neighborhood very quickly. And with the Houthis being emboldened after their attacks on different vessels, and with al-Shabaab being emboldened as they've been able to increase their recruiting efforts, thanks to the disagreements between Ethiopia and Somalia, Puntland and Somaliland, he looks at that and says that that is something that could go south very quickly, and he's very concerned about that.
Welcome back. Have you ever sat down and asked yourself, why is the United States sending billions of dollars to Somali? Despite the fact that we have had the Somali community being linked to fraud cases, These fraud cases did not just start the other day. These fraud cases have always been there, only that they were brought to light at that time. And when Somalia is discussed, most people focus on its internal problems or regional conflicts. But there is one side that is less talked about. And that's why we are seated here today, to handle that part that normally is skipped. The United States' continued interest in Somalia. This is not new. It's rooted in history, geography, and strategic thinking. If we look at Somalia, it sits near vital shipping routes and in a region where instability can affect neighboring countries. So this makes it important for global trade and security. Over the years, America's involvement has shifted in visibility and form, but it reflects a combination of long-term strategic goals, security concerns, and international partnerships. Understanding this helps explain why Somalia remains relevant in the United States foreign policy, even when it doesn't dominate headlines, and why global decisions often extend far beyond what we see today. You have been watching Polito Realities. If you feel that you need this discussion to be continued, leave the thoughts in the comment section. Until next time, be grounded and be informed.